Hello from Shanghai. Welcome to my presentation on culturally responsive leadership. My name is Jay Goodman, and this week I'm going to be addressing the question, how do we conceptualize effectiveness in culturally responsive leadership? Broadly, culturally responsive leadership is a leadership approach that values the cultures and cultural experiences of the students in the school. More specifically, Khalifa, Goodman, and Davis, in their article, Culturally Responsive School Leadership, define it as the willingness of educators to understand, respond, incorporate, and accommodate, and ultimately celebrate the entirety of the children they serve, including their languages and literacies, spiritual universes, cultures, racial proclivities, behaviors, knowledges, critical thought, and appearances. The use of the word responsive is used intentionally to indicate an action. In other words, culturally responsive leadership is a set of behaviors that are intentional and have the goal of creating a more inclusive learning environment. As a way to gauge the effectiveness of culturally responsive leadership, Shields says that our goal is to change the way students view themselves as learners. Naturally, this is difficult to measure, and therefore we must look for indicators and behaviors within a school community that there is an environment that allows for this growth. These markers, taken together, can help us conceptualize the effectiveness of this style of leadership. If changing how students see themselves is the main marker of success, then we need to have behaviors that support that. There are four major ways to see this. We need an inclusive environment, culturally responsive curriculum, an engaged community, and leaders who are critically self-aware. The first of these is a culturally responsive and inclusive school environment. And if you were to walk into a school that looked like this, here's some things that you would see. You would see representation in and around the school. That means teachers who look like the students that they're teaching. We would see mentoring of teachers, both by leaders and perhaps even by students in some sort of reverse mentorship program. We would see frequent opportunities to explore identity, both within and outside of the school and the curriculum. There would also be a number of non-negotiables. And non-negotiables are behaviors that teachers agree that they will always stop in order to address. These could be racist, sexist, or homophobic language, or any other need that an individual school might have. And of course, we need high expectations. Students need to be able to view themselves or need to see themselves as capable and unique learners. The second thing we need is a culturally responsive curricula. What does this look like? Well, if you were to be in a school that had this, we would see that there was a curriculum in place that reflected students' own stories and their cultural ways of thinking. We would also see that curriculum decisions were driven by students and that students had a place at the table in order to bring aspects of their culture into the curriculum. We would see a depth and breadth of electives, specifically in language courses. And we would see a curriculum that addresses the other side of this, which is issues of privilege and power in other cultures. We also need to be able to engage the school community. A few indicators of this would be cultural liaisons. These are teachers of the same culture, language, or who share an understanding of cultural thinking. These liaisons act as a bridge as well as an advocate for the students on behalf of their own communities. We would also see programs that give back. This could be things like Christmas baskets or work in shelters in the community, and programs that involve the community as a whole. For example, Khalifa, Goodman, and Davis talk about a program that are a partnership between retirees and students who don't have regular adult contact outside of the school. And of course, we need leaders who are present in the community. And this is particularly important as the demographics of a community change and leaders are forced to, relearn and re-engage with new cultures. The final and most important aspect of culturally responsive leadership is to have leaders with critical self-awareness. Now, why is this important? Leaders who cannot question their own beliefs, acknowledge their own biases, or who are unaware of histories of oppression are more likely to perpetuate racism and other systematic oppressions in the school. Therefore, we need leaders who are able and willing to challenge their own beliefs and assumptions. We need leaders and teachers who have a keen awareness of the factors that adversely impact their students. And we need leaders who are able to articulate an understanding of their own culture and their own privileges and their own power. And this can even be the power that goes along with leadership. So what does this actually look like? Well, we got a couple of examples from the reading. The first one is the idea that culturally responsive leadership exposes everyone to new ideas. And in one piece of research, they found that white New Zealanders learned and benefited from learning structures and curriculum that was Maori. In other words, the benefits of culturally responsive education and leadership extend well beyond the targeted groups and can take hold in the culture of the school as a whole. They also found that this style of leadership and this style of engagement in the community led to improved learning. And the example they gave was indigenous students learned better in persuasive models than in positional leadership, a difference that reflected their cultural understanding of how decisions are made and who gets to make those decisions. So, finally, culturally responsive leadership is necessary in the communities we work in, and therefore must be intentionally implemented and actively monitored. It's most effective when it's visible, intentional, and designed to help students view themselves as capable, unique learners. I hope these indicators have provided a clear look at how to gauge the effectiveness of culturally responsive leadership. If you'd like to continue the conversation, please head to the forum and look for my post titled Question 11, Culturally Responsive Leadership. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to the discussions in the week ahead.